Hello everyone and welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a best-of-3 series of Terran versus Zerg, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Data C. Spawning right here in the top right-hand corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones from Canada, we have Scarlett. Her opponent in the opposite corner, playing with the red Terran SCVs from Germany, we're looking at HeroMarine's main command center. Now, HeroMarine, okay, going for a command center on the low ground first, then eventually into a barracks, and now into double gas already. That is a little bit interesting. We're gonna have to keep an eye out on exactly what this man is planning. Last time I actually casted a HeroMarine game, when he went up against Zerg, I think it was against Raynor, he ended up going for that Mass Banshee, Mass Cyclone Hellion style. Now, of course, this is played with the new multiplayer balance patch as well. I believe it was actually played right around the same time as well, so a couple of weeks ago. I wonder if this is something that HeroMarine is gonna whip out again, because maybe I'm mistaken, but that second gas, it seems a little bit quick. Anyways, in the meantime, on the other side of the map, we've got ourselves a hatchery into what seems to be a gas geyser and then a spawning pool. Scarlett only mining a little bit of gas right now. So Zergling speed has not started up just yet. I'm assuming this is gonna mean that she will be going for a pretty quick third command center, or, well, Zerg command center anyways. She wishes she could build an orbital command. Okay, that sounds amazing. Speaking of orbital commands though, 2 of those are coming up on the other side of the map. Okay, Overlord gets punished here for just a moment. A few Zerglings are gonna be running across the map as well, but I believe that everything should be working out just fine right here for Big Gabe. Going for the CC first on the low ground can theoretically be a little bit risky. But HeroMarine apparently feeling a little brave today, as he does indeed follow this up with a second factory as well. This is a build that I'm a big fan of, man. It's not something we see a whole lot anymore these days. So the only reason to go for a quick second factory at this point in the game is if you want to have a reactor on one, a tech lab on the other, and then start producing that infernal pre-igniter research, right? The blue flame upgrade. You don't really want to lose a whole lot of SCVs, though. Ooh, don't let the Zerglings in either. Okay. I guess he expected the greed right there out of Scarlett, but I wonder what would have happened if that Zergling would have just run straight past that mineral line there. Anyways, Scarlett at this point completely unaware of what she's playing against. I wouldn't be surprised if she hasn't played against the Blue Flame Hellion opener in a really long time. At the very least, that's what I'm assuming it's gonna be. That's the only reason why you would go for this, well, this setup right over here. Okay, yeah, there it is. I think the last time that I've seen this build, like, quote-unquote frequently, before the last time I saw HeroMarine play it, was back when, like, Innovation and Maru liked to mix it in. Like, that is quite literally years ago. So, I mean, Innovation doesn't even play the game anymore. I believe he's doing his mandatory military service, and I believe he mentioned he does not plan to come back to the game. Although, you know, I've heard that story before as well in the past, where the Koreans are like, yep, once I'm done with my military service, I am gonna start picking up my life for real. There's no more time to play video games. I'm gonna get a real job. And then, you know, they realize, wait a second, playing video games actually... Ooh, this is quite bad right here for HeroMarine, though, especially when you go Blue Flame. Anyways, turns out playing video games when you're really good at them can be quite profitable as well. And while maybe it's not necessarily the best transferable skill to a, you know, quote-unquote real job, there's no denying that guys like Innovation have been very successful and probably could be very successful in many other parts of esports as well. Anyways, hopefully one day we're going to be seeing that nickname once again on our screens as well. Be it with this game, be it with StarCraft 1, be it with whatever. TY have actually, or TY rather, has recently returned from his mandatory military service, and he decided that he's going to be playing StarCraft 1 as well as StarCraft 2 professionally at the same time. So I think he mentioned that he wanted to, like, qualify for the ASL, which is a StarCraft Brood War tournament. And then he, at the same time, also wanted to reach a GSL round of 4 this year. So rather than going for, like... Anyways, I'm hoping to cast some TY games again in the near future, because that would be a lot of fun. Anyhow, Blue Flame is done. At this point, there's a whole lot of nothing available for Scarlett, but she is going for, oh, a panicked wall, as she gets it up just barely in the nick of time. Drones are running away from the third hatch. HeroMarine must realize that they went somewhere. There's no way that there were no workers available at that third. Oh no, really? That surprises me. I really... Ooh. Okay, no. Wow. I really expected all of those workers to be roasted right now, but apparently HeroMarine, being a very nice guy, not gonna start hunting down those drones. Maybe, oh, you know what? I think what he assumed is that the drones just evacuated to the natural instead. Oh, that could have been like 2 dozen worker kills right here for HeroMarine. Anyways, his follow-up is 2 additional factories, an armory, cyclones, the cyclone improvement as well, and now we have a Raven up in the air too. HeroMarine, well, his nickname already mentions exactly the style that he likes to play. He, generally speaking, is an infantry Terran, right? I mean, at the very least, for the last couple of years, he has been, just because of the fact that that is the go-to unit composition for Terran players, but apparently he's messing around with a variety of strategies here instead, and I gotta say, I love it. Haven't seen a lot of other Terran players give this a try, but at least in the game that I've seen HeroMarine play, I believe it was against Raynor a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it was amazing. It was honestly really, really sick, so. NG Bay coming up right now as well. I would imagine that this is primarily to make missile turrets? Maybe building armor, right? Because I don't think we're going to be transitioning into infantry upgrades from here. So that Raven being a little bit cheaper really does allow you to get one going a little bit earlier on as well. And therefore you can really deny that creep spread super nicely. A couple of Zerglings attempting to get the roll by. Okay. I mean, rolling is not... Ooh, Raven goes down. Rolling is not part of this Zerg unit comp just yet, but at the very least the Zerglings, you know, they were pretending like they could head on over into that Terran bowl. In the end, though, the trades have been, yeah, relatively cost-efficient right here for Scarlett. What I don't like for her is the fact that she doesn't have a lot of creep anymore. So not having creep in these locations of the map makes it very difficult to actually, yeah, lock down this Terran army, because HeroMarine can basically drive around this section of the map continuously. As long as that creep spread is denied and the Overlord scouts are shut down, it's going to be difficult for Scarlett to determine where that Terran army is going to pop up next. Okay, those missiles are not quite going to be enough, but I've got a feeling that that hatchery will fall here before too long. What exactly do you do right now if you're the Zerg player? I actually don't mind what Scarlett is doing here. I wouldn't be surprised if she's actually just not gonna drone this base for at least another little while and just go for a big attack first. Because, I mean, this army can kite, it can run backwards like that, but at some point you run out of map, right? You run out of places to run to. So, I mean, so far though, the control right here out of these mechanical units is fantastic. Yeah. So look at where HeroMarine is going as well. Scarlett was intending on going that way. But, yeah, HeroMarine walking the Terran, or, sorry, walking the Zerg right now on a leash. Trying his very best to, well, get that army off of his back. Siege tanks are coming up. How many do we have at this point? 0. So, yeah, a siege tank or 2 would definitely not be misplaced against a Zerg army like this. Scarlett has been sitting at 71 workers here for a while. I don't know if she just made that additional round of drones or if she already had those. Either way, this is a relatively low eco Zerg. For an army composition like this, you really are looking to get 80 plus workers preferably. Okay, well, obviously you can make the difference if you manage to blow up your opponent's mineral line, but so far, nope, not gonna happen. Good kills right here, once again, by the German Terran. So this is a unit comp that we haven't seen in years. Every once in a while, maybe someone like Gumiho would mix it in, but like as far as like standard build orders go, this is not really something that we see all too often. And it really comes down to, well, the changes that they've made to the Cyclone as well as, well, the other units that I've already brought up. They're relatively small, just a couple percentage points here and there, but it really does add up at this level of play. Oh, it would be so sick if like we have a proper viable alternative to playing Bio Terran, right? I mean, once upon a time, we used to see vanilla mech, right? With like siege tanks and Thors and all that. We used to see battle mech, and we used to see infantry. And in a way, that kind of makes, at least this matchup in particular, it makes it feel like there's like, you know, even though all of those unit compositions are Terran, it makes it feel, at least as a Zerg player, that you're playing against 3 different races, because all of those styles do need a very different approach. And, well, if you can mix it in a best-of-5 series, you can obviously, yeah, get a lot of value out of it as well. Anyhow, a couple of misrallied units right here. Nice catch there from HeroMarine. I wonder if you want to go for another armory upgrade here, though, Gabe. Because without armory upgrades, this game is going to be very difficult to win in the long run. Instead, though, yeah, I think it's on purpose. All of the resources that the Terran player had up to this point, they've been spent on units. And look at the siege tank production. We're now making 4 siege tanks here at once. What does Zerg have? I mean, Zerglings, I guess. Zerglings can be quite good. Okay, we are going to try and set up a little bit of a wraparound, but instead Scarlett finds a bunch of tanks here in the middle of the map. The tanks have been leapfrogging forward, so yeah. A couple in the back will get unsieged, then move forward. A couple in the back will then unsiege or move forward again. It's a slow, methodical push. Preferably, though, if you're a Zerg player here, what you need is, well, Vipers. Not going to happen right here for Scarlett as she decides to pull the trigger. Does she have enough to break through all of this? The siege tank positioning is excellent, but keep in mind, those Zerg upgrades are quite a bit more powerful here. Yeah, we only have +1 upgrade right here for, well, these mechanical units, but the Zerg has been happily upgrading here for a little while longer. I guess maybe the original plan was to mix in Vipers, and maybe she is going to add those on as well momentarily, but for now, at least Infestors are coming up instead. Maybe the Hive is just going to be for the adrenal glands research. That's going to give those Zerglings a nice attack speed boost. The reason for Infestors, though, is most likely for neural parasites as well as for fungal growths. If you can take control of a couple of those units, that is amazing. If you can prevent these units from running away as easily, well, that is also obviously a fantastic addition right here. But that Zerg army is looking very mediocre. Yeah, army supply-wise, you can tell right now as well that HeroMarine is significantly leading in that department. Really using the tanks in the best locations that he can find. A couple of Banelings right there rolling into a tank. That's not where you want him. And his hatchery, even though it was softened up quite a while ago, I do believe it's going to fall here eventually. Well, fungal growth was landed. Hatchery does fall. A couple of Infestors too far forward, and they get popped right away. And HeroMarine absolutely dominates here in game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on Inside and Out. This time around, a standard opener right here from HeroMarine. Look at the Reaper over here as well. Tattoo on his back to indicate what race he's playing for. He's a Terran player, baby. You love to see it. Okay, anyways. A little bit of a different start this time around here from the biggest of games. I actually kind of like it whenever Terran players go for a CC first in game number 1 of a series. Scarlett opting to go for 6 Zerglings here in total. The very Korean-esque way of saying, yo, you're not going to get any kills at all. Third hatchery was already planted down quite a bit sooner this time around as well. So what exactly went wrong right there for Scarlett in the previous game? I was paying a lot of attention right there to what HeroMarine was doing, so I wasn't paying super close attention. But one problem you run into is that tempo advantage, right? So this is something we see a lot with Bio-Terran in particular. So once Bio-Terran starts killing a bunch of creep tumors, usually their follow-up pushes will become more powerful as well if you don't respread that creep. Now, Scarlett, of course, she's always been very well known for having phenomenal creep spread, and she just never really... Yeah, she never really had map control in that game. She never really got that 4th base up and running because of it, and in the end, playing Hydraling Bane off of 70-something workers, it is just not gonna cut it. So once again, by the way, we've got ourselves a second factory opener here from HeroMarine, who I think is just experimenting with this style. Very cool. Interesting how none of the other... I've casted a lot of Terran versus Zergs lately. Yeah, none of the other players are really mixing this sort of style in. Especially guys like Gumiho. You'd imagine that at least they would give it a try. Anyways, I was talking about it in the previous game. I didn't think this was an option. Not against Zerg anyways. So we're rushing out the Cyclone upgrade this time around. I could have sworn this would have been a Blue Flame upgrade once again, but no. Okay. I guess we'll see what exactly is going to happen here. Got a feeling it's not going to be as good as what we saw in the previous one. Although, to be fair, that Blue Flame Hellion opener in our previous game, it barely did anything. Imagine, though, if HeroMarine would have, on top of, well, the game in general, right? If you would have also added on, like, 10 additional drone kills in the early game. I guess it was more like, you know, when those drones were hiding in the top left. Would have probably been close to, like, 18 additional drone kills. Would have been quite insane. Anyways, here we go. Army is showing up. So I guess as long as the creep spread is not here, as long as you kill a couple of overlords, you can keep on dancing on the edge of creep. There's a third factory coming up as well. Okay, Scarlett mixing it up, by the way, in this game. She decides to go for a Roach Warren rather than a Baneling Nest, which I personally don't mind. Single Evo Chamber coming up as well, so I would imagine that's probably for armor. Although, not 100% sure. Okay. So, let's see. Yep, there's that scan again. So, this really hurts the Zerg player. We should really get that tumor over there. Nicely done. This really hurts the Zerg player because it's difficult for them now to establish themselves out on that map again. 4 Hellions have gone down so far. Positive trades here for sure. A couple of Zerglings attempting a run by 2, but the 3rd command center is going to hold strong. Okay. Couple of Zerglings here. Do manage to get a decent wraparound? Maybe one more Hellion? No. I guess the problem you run into as a Zerg here, and it's by the way going to be Missile, the problem you run into is that you just haven't seen this in a very long time, right? And as we've already talked about many times, StarCraft players aren't very good at thinking while playing the game. At least, you know, that's what I've found over the years. Usually analyzing what you're doing wrong outside of the game and then, you know, determining what you would do differently next time is the go-to strategy instead. Although Scarlett has had a little bit of time, right? She has had a little bit of time after game number 1 to think about it. This seems to be a very similar mid-game right here from HeroMarine. There's Factory 4 and 5 coming up as well. Maybe if maybe in the previous game I said that he was adding on Factory 3 and 4 at some point, but maybe he already had a 3rd factory done at that point. I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to go back to the replay to figure that exact thing out, because the Terran army did seem to grow pretty rapidly there. I would imagine there probably was already a 3rd factory out. Anyhow. Roaches are going to be a little bit more sustainable, right? I would imagine. So, historically speaking, against mass Cyclone armies, one thing that I always liked to do was go for the Zerg spellcasters. So fungal growth is something you can get out quite early if you get yourself a couple of infestors going, right? You could throw up an infestation pit right now if you're Scarlett. 1 fungal growth on this army, the roaches catch up with the rest of it, bada bing, bada boom, everything dies. Second option was to go mass Viper. So once upon a time, this is years and years ago, some of you might remember this. I remember specifically Solar playing this quite a bit, where he was going for like literally up to a dozen Vipers and mass Hydra. And the idea was to abduct those Cyclones one at a time. Cyclones are very expensive units. And, you know, if you can take them out of the equation, that obviously makes things much, much better. Well, this could be a strange little sandwich, though. HeroMarine catches this army over here on the left. Glial Reconstitution is finishing up. Good movement here once again, though, by the German player. This is a big Zerg army, though. Scarlett doesn't need as much economy playing Roach Ravager as she does Hydraling Bane. 3 siege tanks are just about to pop out. There's already 2 of them available as well, but they're not in the right place. And HeroMarine decides to give up this position. Ooh, wanted to go and play a little bit of basketball right there with the SCVs, but turns out he did not get the slam dunk. 5 workers there is still decent, but yeah, with an opener like this, you really are hoping for a little bit more. There's the infestation pit. I think with the Viper nerf, though, right, where they now idle for a little bit when you use a abduction, I don't think that Viper option is a very good one. So I think infestors make a lot of sense. The only problem with infestors is that you obviously need to get a little bit lucky. You can throw the fungal growth from quite a bit of distance, but assuming HeroMarine has scans available, maybe even mixes in like a Raven, I do think, yeah, it's not an amazing option. And honestly, at this point, it seems to me that HeroMarine is mostly already transitioning away from this battle mech army, as he's now going into a more vanilla style of mech. Here's that siege tank push, though, again. This is actually such a powerful attack. This time around, it is combined with +2, which is interesting to me, because in the previous game, it seemed to me that he really did not want to get that upgrade going early. Maybe it's because of the amount of damage he'd done earlier, I'm not sure, but this is a scary attack. Yep. So for a second, he was thinking about returning home, but no. For the first while, you don't see any siege tanks, and then you blink twice, and there's like 12 of them. That is interesting. Okay. Oh, careful. Splash damage right there could be a problem, but it looks like the Zerg units are not going to step on top of those SCVs. In the meantime, a little push over here. Good corrosive balls right there from the Canadian Zerg, but Scarlett, she's getting pushed back once again. All right, Swarm Host coming up. Okay, that is not what I expected. Wait, did we not? No, we did not see any infestors at all. I just assumed that those would be an option. So, like I said, this was played a couple of weeks ago. Blizzard has made a couple of changes to the Cyclone as well, and I'm not sure exactly if that is... So, okay, let me pause for just a second. When the new multiplayer balance patch was first announced, we did hear about the Cyclone change, right? And that Cyclone change has been messed around with for a little while. In the end, we settled on a certain value change, but on top of that, the Cyclone now also does not waste his lock-on anymore nearly as quickly, especially against units like, for example, Locust. So one thing you could do in the past, and maybe that is what Scarlett is going for in this particular game, is send in the Locust wave. Then all of the Cyclones are gonna lock on to the Flying Locust, and obviously that doesn't really, you know, it's not what you want as a Terran player. You don't want to waste that lock-on on that. So yeah, they've basically taken steps to not allow that again. But I'm not exactly sure as to what version of the patch they were playing at the time. So I guess we'll find out momentarily. There's the Swarm Host. Honestly, the Swarm Hosts are scary here. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking as if this is a mass Cyclone army. There's 6 of them in total. It's honestly really not that impressive anymore at all. Okay, Swarm Host coming in from the side. I don't think Scarlett is trying to target the Cyclones at all. No, she's trying to target the siege tanks. Okay, so manually landing them there as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? That was actually really sick. So I think she manually landed a couple of those Locusts right there to make sure that the siege tanks would not fire at the Roaches because they would be in between shots. Expensive couple units right there for the Zerg player to lose, but even more expensive right there for the Terran. Only 4 Locusts are going to be flying on over to finish the job, and that siege tank, it should have driven home, but apparently stubborn as it was, it decided to sit back. Okay. Interesting. So how are we going to pull this off? Tunneling Claws is done. These Roaches could have unburrowed. Obviously, it can be used to quickly heal those units back up to full as well. There's already a bunch of Roaches waiting right over here on the left side of the map, and I think she's probably going to do the same over here in the back of the mineral line at the 4th base. Okay, these Roaches unburrow. They're going to be able to get quite a bit of damage done. Suddenly, the Roaches also pop up over here on the right side of the map. Terran army, in the meantime, in the top left corner, it's mostly just a couple siege tanks and a few of those Hellbats. Zerg is going to have to respect that. Roaches over here get scanned and will be killed. That drone, probably not going to live either. Nope, it will get roasted. Roaches tunneling over to the natural. Quite a few SCV kills so far, and obviously a lot of chaos. This hatchery is super dead, but it's only siege tanks left over right here, and then, well, Henry the Hellbat just chilling in the corner. Really should have been on top of those siege tanks to try and help roast those Locusts, because I think right now, at least one more is going to go down. Yeah, maybe everything is going to end up going. No, not quite, but I don't think they're going to be able to drive their way back home, because reinforcing Zerg units will probably finish the job. A lot of damage is being done, though, but at the same time, a ton of drones were also killed. It's just that, like, the lower the army values become, the better this is for the Swarm Host player. So Scarlett is going to be, yeah, more than happy to... Yeah, ooh, I thought for a second that Orbital Command died. Did it die? No. It's this one right over here. I thought maybe that was a newly made one. Anyways, yeah, Swarm Host players, they really like to be, well, not caught off guard, I can tell you that much. Oh, Fungal, beautiful Fungal right there from Scarlett. Okay, she absolutely smashes this army now. Fantastic Fungal growth right there. Locusts from the side, Roaches from the front. Beautiful game. And that brings us to Waterfall, the final map in this best-of-3 series. HeroMarine has opted to go for a low-ground wall-off, which is not something that we see all too often from Terran players. That is kind of interesting. Command center on the back of it. So normally Zerg players, yeah, they sent their Overlord in that direction. Now she sees it. She also sees the Marine. It's time to get out. Well, where exactly do you send it? Preferably over in that direction, yeah. But that is going to be quite the run right now, especially when you're going up against 2 Marines. Okay, so HeroMarine playing a little bit of a trick here. It's a delayed factory, I guess. 2 Marines here prioritized instead, and I think that is probably going to be the end for this Overlord. This Marine is going to be running back home just in case a bunch of adventurous Zerglings get in. Scarlett wants to know if there's a second gas geyser building. At least get something for this OV, but no, she does not spot it, and that is not the start you're looking for right here as a Zerg. So, one of the very few advantages of building those barracks on the low ground is that sometimes Zerg players get a little bit too curious, and obviously on some maps it's difficult to hide your OVs anyways. You could obviously try to hide it over there, but then you can lift one of the structures, and especially against 2 Marines, that would still gun it down very rapidly. Other than maybe sending the Overlord in a very conservative path, there's really not much of a positive outcome. Okay, so it's going to be a 1-1-1 right here for HeroMarine. I'm assuming there might be a tech lab here momentarily as well, so this is looking more like a normal game. Yeah. Now, I wonder if Scarlett can be tricked into playing Roach Ravager against Bio here. Most Zerg players don't really like it all too much, although Dark obviously plays that all the time. But I wonder if in this game she's like, okay, I will be playing safe rather than sorry. Oh, interesting. It's a Widowmine. So we're going to go, I guess, for a Medevac? Yeah. Medevac into a tech lab. Reactor is right now gonna do. We're doing the big switcheroos right here. Okay. It's difficult for Zerg to figure out what's going on, though. Since you can't actually see the starport there, you don't know if it's a third command center before the starport or if it's a second factory again. She's been trying to figure it out, but not a lot of information right here for the Zerg, so you're just kind of awkwardly making a bunch of units, trying to be safe against everything. I wouldn't be surprised if we're gonna be... Yeah, I was gonna bring up the Spore Crawlers. I wouldn't be surprised to see those coming up like 30 seconds from now. This one seems a little bit early, but anyhow. Just in case, right? You never really know. Okay, so an awkward medevac drop here on the left side of the map. So it's 6 Marines and then a single Widowmine. And then a bunch of Hellions here on the right side as well. Once again, sniping a creep tumor. There should be enough queens available to push this back, but they do need to be in the right place at the right time, and actually I think that Scarlett figured it out wonderfully. Even though this is not a build order I'm personally all too familiar with, I guess she looked at it and she's like, yep, 1 Spore Crawler is all I need over here on the left side of the map. That almost seems specifically designed to try and push back that medevac. So what was the tech lab for? Okay, it wasn't for the starport. Apparently we're just going to be going into the Stimpeg research here instead, and that is going to give HeroMarine his very, well, comfortable unit composition, right? The one that he likes to play in most of his games. Although, well, not in most of the games that I've casted of him recently. He seems to be fond of going for that mech style. Anyways. Here we go. We're going to start piling on the pressure. The early game is a little bit funny, a little bit different than what we normally see. But all the roads do eventually lead towards that very comfortable mid-game right here for HeroMarine, and I think we can say the same thing as well for Scarlett. She's been happily droning up for a little while. It's just that all the timings here for the Zerg are going to be a little bit different than what you normally assume. So she's decided to go double Evo before Lair. This Lair now feels incredibly late to me. And the problem for a late Lair is that Baneling Nest and Baneling Speed are also super critical. So we really do need to see a Baneling Nest. Because without Baneling Speed, you're not going to be able to hold a lot of those timing attacks in the mid-game. Scarlett. Oh no, I think she may be forgetting the Baneling Nest. Unless she's got something special in store here. This could get really awkward. Yeah, so normally you start up the Baneling Nest shortly after you start up the Lair. So you can start up Baneling Speed right away. A couple of drones have gone down. HeroMarine looking around too. He wanted to go into the natural to see if there was a Baneling Nest, but didn't get it. Anyways, yeah, we have a lot of hatcheries, right? We've got 3 additional hatcheries added on here after the 3rd, but no Baneling Nest. She must realize it now. Lair is done. Okay, yeah, so that was definitely a mistake. Probably assuming she started it up and now she's realized, okay, I didn't. So now we're panicking. Now we're making both a Roach Warren as well as a Baneling Nest. Overlords are coming up, but now the Terran army is already moving across. You really want to be halfway done with your Baneling Speed upgrade at this point, at the very least. 1-1 at the very least is going to be finished in time, so that is something right here for Scarlett, but she is going to need a ton of army if banelings are not a reliable option here. Okay, there we go. Anti-armor missile. Beautiful right there from the biggest of games. Love the addition of the one Raven here just for that spell. Look at those queens. Absolutely dropping like flies. Oh, they got absolutely destroyed there. Anti-armor missile is technically a little bit weaker overall to make up for the unit cost, but like, still seems like an incredible army to have, or an incredible unit to have. Anyways, Zerg did come in from the back there, dealing quite a bit of damage. This isn't meant to win the game, but you can see that it's so awkward, right? So, I mean, this... I'm talking a lot about the Zerg player in this match. This is an awkward game as well, though, from the biggest of games. Because look at this. Look at this. What's missing here, right? Let's play a little bit of StarCraft trivia. We don't have a third command center. So this is HeroMarine going for what seems to be a never-ending 2-base push. Well, when someone's forgetting baneling speed... that is the best case scenario for sure. But has he done enough damage up to this point? I don't think so. We don't have enough energy here on the Raven to continuously, well, throw anti-armor missiles forward. It would be fantastic. The Concave, though, is looking amazing here for the German Terran, and he is starting to break through this right now. Only a couple Ravagers remain. Oh, Scarlett with a gigantic misread, by the way. You definitely don't want to add on 3 additional hatcheries. Even though you might have the money for it when you're going up against someone who's going for a 2-base all-in. That is way too much. I mean, they're going to come in handy right now because she needs the larva, and since most of the queens are gone, I guess she's going to be able to produce units regardless, but... HeroMarine catches his opponent off guard, and with that, he obtains the victory in this best-of-3 series.